Hi, my name is Zachary Angelat, and I wanted to go over importing local Go packages. And I have a few examples here, but I wanted to start off with saying that I am using Go 1.15, and that has Go modules turned on by default. And it also utilizes a vendor folder. So what does that mean? Well, let me explain how to use Go modules a little bit, or at least the one command of them. And that would be Go mod init, and then whatever you want to name the module. A lot of times people will use GitHub or whatever it is that they're using, or GitLab. For this, I just wanted to keep it local, and so I wanted to ensure it's just has nothing to do with GitHub or the web. So I just called it Zach, and I hit enter, and it created a mod file. When you have that down, you can go ahead and create the vendor folder and a folder inside of it. What this allows is, with Go 1.15, is the vendoring of packages. So packages that you can store locally. And this is important because if, let's say, you don't necessarily have the web to rely on, or your company for whatever reason is very security conscientious, you can use something like this in order to store the local packages for later use. The first thing I did to kind of describe to you the mistakes I made so that you get a better mental model of what's going on and why it's important. I had originally created a file next to my main.go file, and I did not put the package name as main, and so for whatever reason it wasn't being pulled in. I actually had to Google it and look up the whole vendor file thing, or vendor folder. So what I did was I took that extra package and I named it pack for package. It's not a very good naming scheme, but for an example, it's fine. And prior to this, I had these structs right here inside my main.go file as just simply kind of there. And this was fine, but I didn't want to put all my code into a single file. So being able to extend other files or other packages allows you to kind of split up concerns, so that when you do need to make an update to something or work with your code, it's not so complex. So I was able to get rid of those structs and put them inside the pack package. I also added a method, run, on the content type. This was just to kind of explain and show an example that because of prior videos I made about interfaces and them extending to types that have certain methods, when you go to extend a certain type, even though from that package it has the run method, it will not satisfy the interface. And so even though this shelf interface has the method run, when you go to import content, even though it has the method run, it will not satisfy the shelf interface. So I made this method and this method. They both take in the interface shelf. And the reason why I did that was to kind of infer that you can still import packages with structs, and you can still utilize those methods with that interface. So first you have to initialize the data, right? If you're ever going to use it. That's really important. And so this data, this book, this page, this content, has all been initialized. But with the one little caveat, and these are in reference to, again, these structs. The content struct is inside the page struct, and the page struct is inside the book struct. So that's a reference to initializing all those embedded structs. What I did was, in order to try to get around being able to satisfy the interface from a struct that's inside of a separate package, I created a struct called data, and I simply I imported that package pack, and I did .book. Now, in order for me to do that, when you do your imports for locally, a lot of times people use GitHub or GitLab, but I'm not using the web right now. So all I had to do was import the folder that's inside the vendor folder, this common folder. You can call it whatever you want. But this package has to be named pack if you're going to use the structs from it or methods. So the syntax basically has to be this way if you're going to set up your files and folders as I have them. So when I go to initialize the whole thing, I have my data struct, which I put pack.book, and B is the pseudo name for it. And when I go to initialize it, I have data, and it has one property, B, which is right here. And I go to initialize book, which is from the package, and it has the properties, this book ID, name, page, JavaD, name, and then you initialize the next property, and then you import the pack.page. And you do that all the way down until you get to the end. Again, with this, you can't split that up, otherwise it won't compile, because it, for whatever reason, thinks there's a space. So when I have these methods, update content, and I have a parameter as shelf, all I'm doing is printing it and then returning it. So D is an initialized value of data, which is the struct that I wrapped the package with book that has all the rest of the page types and the content type kind of embedded. And I also gave data the run method. This is so that it satisfies the interface that's within its own package, because you can't satisfy the interface from a type that's from another package unless you explicitly add the method again. But this way, in the future, if I need to add more things to it, I can just simply embed it, and forever on this will be a way to pass it around. So when we have update content, and we have update page, and we have the initialized values, we can run main.go, and it'll print out the data. You notice there I didn't have to do go run *.go, even though I have the pack.go package. It's because as a local import, it's imported into main and is run as the executable. So we have this, and we have it all imported, and we have a wrapper type that goes around it to satisfy that interface that is the parameter of the methods that we use. This took a little bit of time in order to figure out, and these do have to be within order. You can omit any one of the properties, but they do have to be in that particular order. So I hope that generally goes over importing packages, and I hope that you learned something, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.